Voting is a civic duty. Let's register on the electoral list. This is a message from Equinoxe Television.
Good evening to all of you faithful viewers of Equinoxe Television. Welcome back from the weekend. It's time for the news. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Our major stories this evening: Abubakar Usman May, an opposition figure in Cameroon, says President Probia must leave power before it is for him. The brother of Minister Lamin Usman May demands that Probia's family members should advise him to quit and give way to the era in Cameroon history. He was speaking on Equinoxe Television, and more details of some pertinent points and declarations he made on La Verite en Face in this news edition. And the resignation of Issa Chiruma Bakari and the candidacy of Bello Buba Maigari have been causing diverse reactions within the political class in Cameroon, while some think the two northerners can be sincere. Other opinions hold that they are just playing. Our reporters sampled some opinions, and we will tell you more still in this newscast. And we take you to the northwest region of the country, where two babies aged less than a year have been incarcerated in Bamenda alongside their parents. Human rights groups say this is the height of human and children's rights violations in Cameroon. Viewers, those are our lead stories. We come back for details and more. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for the confidence. We just told you a while ago that human rights groups have condemned the detention of 2- and 3-month-old babies in Cameroon's Detention division behind the northwest region of the country. The babies are among 7 other individuals reportedly held in gendarmerie custody in the Detention division of the northwest region. Immaculate Progress says the detained family members are being accused of having linked with separatist fighters.
Children 2 and 3 months old are expected to be in the comfort of their mother's arms at home, but instead they find themselves in the confines of a gendarmerie post in Detention division, northwest region. They are among the 7 civilians arrested on the instruction of the senior divisional officer for Detention division.
7 unarmed civilians, including 2 newly born children of 2 months and 3 months, were arrested on the 24th of June 2025 in Bamisindo, in the Detention division of Northwest region of Cameroon, by members of the Defense and Security Forces.
Human rights defender Amadou Tanto says the actions of the SDO are in retaliation to the kidnapping of a gendarme officer by a separatist commander, allegedly the father of both kids.
More than 14 unarmed civilians, or a group of more than 14 persons, were kidnapped on that same 24th of June 2025 at around Sabga Hill in the Mezam division of the Northwest region of Cameroon by members of the armed separatist group. Upon arrival in the bush, these separatists discovered that among those they kidnapped were members of the gendarme forces working at the company gendarmerie in Dok. So the separatists decided to allow the other civilians to go upon payment of ransom. Meanwhile, the one gendarme was continuously detained. It was a result of this incident that when the SDO of Detention learned this issue, he ordered for the arrest of the family members of these separatists.
However, the senior divisional officer Kwetong Henderson Konge explains that his area has been marred by kidnappings, highway robbery, illegal taxation, and many other human rights violations. He claims the mothers of both babies tried using them as a shield to stop the officers from arresting them, adding that he is determined to make his area free from separatist grip. Meanwhile, African Conscience, a human rights organization, strongly condemns what they consider as illegal detention of 7 civilians, including babies, and demands their unconditional release.
Sad indeed. Over to this other lead story. Abubakar Usman May, an opposition figure in Cameroon and president of the Cameroon National Alliance, says that President Paul Biya must leave power before it is too late for him. The brother to Alamin Usman May, the Minister of the Economy, Planning and Regional Development, demands relatives and collaborators of the head of state to help him step aside for the start of a new and juicy era in Cameroon's political history. Abubakar Usman May made his declarations on Equinoxe program La Vérité en Face. Innocent Azi.
One of the emerging political figures from northern Cameroon, Abubakar Usman May, Paul Biya must leave power and allow a new political era to emerge in Cameroon.
Qu'il le veut ou non, il partira.
Whether he likes it or not, he will leave. This is no hidden engagement of mine. I would not want to run faster than the music, but I can assure you we are already at about 80% stride.
À 80%.
As a guest on the prestigious program La Vérité en Face, the native of Logon and Shari division did not hold back. In his remarks, the speaker also addressed members of the military, a clear warning against any attempts at military interference in the electoral process or upcoming political struggles. One of Abubakar Usman May's most striking statements concerned the mobilization of the Grand North.
Co-actionnaire du régime, si on peut le dire ainsi.
Things are falling apart. We can see members of the regime leaving, like Issa Chiroma Bakari and the acting minister Bello Maigari Buba, disconnected from the CPDM. They leave the Biya regime because of so many things that are not going right.
Dont sûrement ils ont parlé, mais qu'il n'a pas pu honorer.
He hinted at the growing assertiveness of this historically marginalized yet politically strategic region. Abubakar Usman May did not spare governors, SDOs and DOs, urging them to stay away from political affairs and to no longer allow themselves to be manipulated by the CPDM.
Les 10 gouverneurs qui sont à la retraite qui sont là.
There are governors, SDOs and DOs who have attained retirement age but still serving. They are totally corrupted to do the job.
Elle est là pour faire le job.
The tone used by Abubakar Usman May, president of the Cameroon National Alliance, the tone, his choice of words, and the barely veiled threats sound like a warning to a contested ruling class, an aging regime, but also to an opposition that seems determined to engage by any means necessary.
And as days draw nearer or closer to the October presidential election in Cameroon, calls for President Paul Biya to step down and make way for a new leader are intensifying somehow. This time, the appeal comes from Reverend Father Etienne Bakaba, a Catholic priest, who addressed an open letter to President Paul Biya on his Facebook page. According to the priest, Cameroon needs a new leader with a vision and ambition to breathe new life into the country. Lucy Liengo is here.
In an open letter addressed to the President of the Republic on his Facebook handle, Reverend Father Etienne Bakaba calls on President Paul Biya to inform Cameroonians as soon as possible that he will not run in the presidential election. According to the priest, President Paul Biya is tired and should hand over power to young Cameroonians who still have the strength to lead the country. Reverend Father Etienne Bakaba believes that this action could save the nation from any form of violence during this critical period. In his letter, Father Etienne also condemns those who encourage the president to seek another term, describing them as the real enemies of the country. He says, I quote, "These eternal foxes eyeing the cheese of the crow's beak are doing it for themselves, not for you." End of quote. Furthermore, Father Etienne highlights the burdens of poverty, corruption, embezzlement, tribalism, unemployment, power failures, and water shortages that continue to afflict Cameroonians. Citing the case of Judas in the Bible, the priest emphasizes that no serious Cameroonian will believe a traitor. He further notes that some authorities, whom he refers to as disciples, are unable to publicly tell the president to step down out of fear of repression. However, he believes that Cameroonians would be pleased to see the president shake hands with the third president. According to Reverend Father Etienne Bakaba, his call is both a prayer and a wish.
And today has been observed or commemorated as a World Social Media Day. Forensic experts say the growing level of cybercriminality, corruption, and its impact on the society can only be effectively targeted by the adoption of forensic techniques. This approach, according to them, will improve the protection of the Cameroonian society, transparency, and also good governance. The need for this approach is urgent as internet penetration depends in Cameroon. Let's now have the details with Fomi Armstrong Sanda.
Despite efforts to improve transparency in Cameroon, corruption remains a major problem in the country, ranked 140 out of 180 countries in the 2024 Corruption Perception Index. Experts believe that transparency is essential to prevent corruption and ensure good governance. This, they say, can be attained through the adoption of new measures like forensic techniques.
Fighting corruption does not mean fighting the top. You start from the base. When you train the youth, the youth will be able to grow up to fight the corruption as they grow up.
Presented at the University of Douala, experts of the MBV Consulting say that forensic plays a significant role in evidence analysis, digital trail, data integrity, investigative transparency, and more, making it necessary to be taught in universities across the country.
We know that cyber security crime has come to stay and is mainly with the youths of today. We have children of nowadays that know how to do manipulation of phones and can do various things with the phone that we do not know. So this infiltrates into these children even at the young age, that by the time they grow, they will be growing with this cyber security. That is the reason why we are signing this convention with the University of Douala, where we have the youth population, that by the time they are graduating from the University of Douala, they must have been able to be aware of this cyber security and the risks that surrounds it, and then avoid it accordingly.
The MOU reached with the Douala University is hoped to be extended across the country in order to kick ass corruption, ensure transparency, build trust, and promote accountability.
In news out of our national frontiers in Togo, where at least 7 people have been killed and many others injured during recent anti-government protests that brought in Lomé. The protesters went on the streets to express their frustration over recent constitutional reforms that could give full power to President Faure Gnassingbé. The roundup of our foreign page with Cedric Chakutu.
At least 7 people have been killed and many more injured during recent anti-government protests in Togo's capital, Lomé. The protest is over recent constitutional reforms that could cement President Faure Gnassingbé's long hold on power.
All we want is for Faure Gnassingbé to step down. We'll keep protesting even after the 3 days until he finally leaves power.
Videos emerged showing apparent abuses by security forces. Internet access across the country has been restricted, with social media platforms functioning intermittently. Civil society groups and social media influencers had called for protests on June 26th, June 27th and June 28th after the government clamped down on protests early this month. Faure Gnassingbé, who has ruled since 2005 following his father's death, was sworn in May as President of the Council of Ministers. In Gabon, Gabonese Ministry of the Interior announced on Sunday that tourist visas will be free for Gabon for tourists wishing to visit the country between July and September 2025. The decision applies to all applications submitted between July 1st and September 30th, 2025. Visas will be issued in less than 48 hours via an electronic platform of the General Directorate of Documentation and Immigration. Tourism in Gabon is a booming sector supported by its exceptional natural wealth. The country is committed to preventing its environment to develop sustainable and responsible tourism. Libreville and other regions are encouraging investment in tourism infrastructure to improve hospitality and services.
And now we talk sports. Team Cameroon's athletes at the African Judo Open in South Africa have returned home with at least 4 gold medals. Cameroon emerged winner in several categories during the competition, while Cameroon's John Tonje has been drafted by the Utah Jazz basketball team. Tonje will play in the NBA that will be next season. Weekend sports review with Sumanji Kangibril.
5 Cameroonian judokas were on the podium as the Shiwane African Judo Open took place in South Africa. In the minor 78 kilograms event, Njenge Mune Georgika Wesley was crowned champion. Mbiamizita Onela came out first in the minus 70 kilograms category, while Cameroon's flag bearer during the Olympic Games, Sophie Mbela-Richel Anita, was first in the plus 78 kilograms judo event. In the men's category, Ngweya Nahu Vladi Carlos won the gold medal in the minus 90 kilogram, and Taman Zhang Frank Urik was first in the minus 100 kilogram fight. In basketball, another Cameroonian, John Tonje, will play in the NBA next season. John Tonje was drafted by Utah Jazz basketball team. John Tonje was the number 53 pick in 2025. Tonje denied signing for Wisconsin men's basketball team since the program didn't have a clear path to stardom. He came into the draft without much national attention but left with much admiration. Tonje will be joining Utah Jazz that finished 1765 last season under the head coach Will Hardy. In football, Isles of Hope Football Academy will play in the Southwest Regional Football League next football season. The boys from the OPEC City were beaten by Yafut 1-4 in the playoffs down. Meanwhile, Unispo of Auchan have been promoted to the Elite One Championship in the coming football season.
And viewers, sad sports reports by Smart brings us to the end of the first part of the news. Let's now move on to talking points. Welcome back, viewers. Tonight we will be talking on the sincerity of the decision of Issa Chiruma Bakari to quit power and join the opposition, as well as the announced candidacy of Bello Buba Maigari. And our guest tonight is Ngusi Herbert. He is a political analyst. Thank you so much for accepting to be our guest on the news tonight. Like I said a while ago, two major allies of the current regime in Cameroon from the north have breached their union with the CPDM and the government somehow declaring each their candidacy for the presidential election in October and presenting the sufferings of the people as a motivating factor. Do you think these politicians are sincere in their choices, Herbert?
Thank you very much, Anabila, for having me on today's edition of Talking Point. It's a pleasure. The resignation of Issa Chiruma Bakari, the now former Minister of Employment and Vocational Training of Cameroon, came as a shock to many Cameroonians, and he has decided to divorce himself from the long marriage he has had with the ruling CPDM party. And one of the reasons he is putting forth as what prompted him to resign from the government and declare his candidacy for the October 2025 presidential election is the hardship of Cameroonians. And talking about the hardship of Cameroonians, that is a subject that is not strange to any sincere Cameroonian. Cameroonians have been plunged into severe hardship by the current regime. We are not taking any credit from the regime. There are certain things that they have tried, but generally they have failed. In fact, if you look at their more than 40 years of leadership, they don't have a pass mark. I can give this regime about 6/20. 6/20. Cameroonians are going through hardship. Basic things that citizens are supposed to have as their right, we don't have. The rate of unemployment is very high. Can you imagine that even to have an ID card, citizens are unable to have an ID card? There are people who have established, who went to make an ID card, and it has been for over 2 years. They are still moving with the laissez-passer. And so, to answer your question, whether they are sincere, the sincerity of a politician cannot be judged based on mere statements. You remember Issa Chiroma Bakare, for example, granted an interview to the CRO TV in the program Actualité Hebdo. In that interview, he said he will support the President of the Republic to the end. And now he is saying something else. So to say that he is sincere or not, only time can prove the sincerity of that statement. And the fact that he has been in union with the CPDM and the ruling party for a very long time leaves some people to be skeptical. This is somebody who has wine and dine with the regime, and suddenly he decides to leave them. Now, let us not take it away from them. You know, this is an insider, and whatever an insider says should be taken seriously, because he is somebody who knows the regime. He has been with the regime. He has been a big supporter of the regime. So I will just say that his sincerity, and even that of Bello Buba Maigari, who has also declared his candidacy, can only be judged over time, because politicians cannot be taken by their words. This is the same person who said he will support the head of state to the end of his career, and now he has decided to go away, citing that the government has failed. This is the same government he has been a defender of. In fact, one of the highest defender of the government has been Issa Chiroma Bakare in his time as Minister of Communication. Many people in Cameroon came to know about Issa Chiroma Bakare only when he was appointed Minister of Communication and in the advent of the Anglophone crisis. And so some of the hardship that he is talking about are things he did not consider when he was in power. When he was enjoying with the CPDM, he did not talk about this. But it is also good that he is speaking now, because there is no problem if somebody decides to repent. We can say that he has decided to repent and he wants to speak now against the evils of this regime, which is a good thing. But only time will be able to prove to us whether or not Issa Chiroma Bakare is sincere.
Herbert, could this also be a move by the politicians to somehow reposition themselves in case of any eventualities?
Well, certainly it could be a possibility. You know, in political dynamics, there is the need for repositioning, especially in a period where a country is hoping to have a presidential election. And like you rightly said, they are insiders. Perhaps they have seen things that the common people have not seen. And they have this, maybe they are sensing that this current regime in which they have had this romance with is coming to an end. And so in order for them to continue to maintain their level of living, their influence in the government, they want to go away from this current regime and perhaps maybe form an alliance, another alliance with any other opposition party that is coming up powerfully, because they might have sensed that this regime is probably coming to an end. And everything that has a beginning has an end. And any keen observer will begin to sense the end of this current regime. I am not a prophet of doom, but Cameroonians are tired of this regime. That's just the truth. It's not only Issa Chiroma and Bello Buba Maigari. It's just that they are the ones who have been vocal enough. They are the ones who have been able to come up and speak out. I'm sure there are many politicians, even in the ranks of the CPDM, who are not happy with what is going on, but they are just there. They don't have an opportunity to speak. Perhaps they are afraid. That is why we need to appreciate the courage of Issa Chiroma Bakare. We cannot take that away from him. It takes courage for you to bite the finger that feeds you, because that's what he has probably done. He has probably bitten the finger that has been feeding him all this while. But there comes a time in the life of a person that he needs to stand up and stand up for the truth and stand up for the people. So it's a possibility that they are preparing for the future. which is uncertain. And they may be sensing that this regime is coming to an end, and so let me join the winning team. Let me be on the winning side, because maybe the CPDM will not win. So I can win on my own. And he has seen many loopholes, and perhaps he thinks, or they think, they have the solutions that Cameroonians are looking for. And staying with the CPDM, they don't have that ability to proffer that much needed help that Cameroonians want. So they think they can stand as an independent candidate and lead Cameroon where Cameroonians deserve to be.
Herbert, before we go, some other opinions think that this can also be a strategy by the regime in place to make of these people, those who have resigned, an opposition to the opposition. Don't you think so?
All right, Annabella, that is what many observers are saying, that this may be a strategy from the regime itself. But there is no clear evidence to say that that is a strategy. It is just mere speculation. It can be a strategy and it cannot be a strategy. But all what we can say is that Cameroonians are supposed to be observant. Cameroonians are supposed to open their eyes and not take politicians only on face value. They are not supposed to take politicians only on what they say, but they should be able to make a re-evaluation based on the program each politician is struggling to put forth. It does not just suffice for you to break away from the CPDM and declare your candidacy. What clear program do you have to take Cameroonians from the pit of hell that they are to paradise that all Cameroonians are dreaming to enjoy? And so I call upon the Cameroonians, those who are of voting age, please register. I'm sure the electoral registers will be closed very soon. Get yourself registered and vote based on the program of a politician, not just what they say. Look at the program that they intend to implement before you cast your vote. Like I said before, only time will tell. And this time, those of us who are the electorate, we don't have much time. If you have not registered, please make sure you do, because change will come. The wind of change is blowing in Central Africa in particular, and Africa in general, and Cameroon will not be left out. That wind of change will blow in Cameroon very soon. And if you say that you want to remain a political, you don't want to get involved in politics, you don't want to vote because nothing will change, know that politics will affect you, whether you take part in it or not. To be on the safe side, register and vote, and let your vote count. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Herbert, for adding your voice. There is no time. If you have not yet registered, go and get yourself registered. There is no time. The time to register is now. And just to add also, Herbert, that Issa Chiruma's letter to Cameroonians also included somehow his political program. Thank you, Herbert Nguti, for accepting to be our guest on Talking Point tonight, and hope to have you some other time. Viewers, thank you so much for being with us. Our programs continue, and I will be with you again tomorrow, same time, God willing. Bye-bye for now.